Page 102, give my regards to Broadway. At the top of the page they talk about cut time. I thought we had cut time already. Cut time is similar to common time, except you just divide everything by 2, you cut it. Common time is 4/4, if you remember. 4 beats in a measure, you're counting quarter notes. Well, cut time is 2/2. There's 2 beats in a measure and you're counting half notes. Well, if you're counting half notes, that means a quarter note gets half a count. So it's 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. For instance, the first line there in the right hand, just the melody. 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. Now when I start to learn a piece that's in cut time, I put it in 4/4 time first. And then after I have it learned, I put it in cut time, because the counting is easier if I'm not counting, especially if you have 1/8 notes or 1/16 notes or something. It gets really wild. So I put it in 4/4 time so a quarter note gets a count. And then the rhythm at the beginning is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's just easier for me to count it that way. You do it however you want. But I'm going to talk about this as though it's in 4/4 time until later on in the video, and then I'll put it in cut time. Now this has 1 flat in the key signature. We're in the key of F, so all the B's are flatted, more or less. Let's get the notes in the fingering first, right hand at the beginning. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. D flat. I know it sounds wonderful, but that's it. And then here. Try and connect that. Can. Again, I use weight to push the notes down. So when I'm ready to play the C, I have this down. I raise the wrist a little and lower the wrist. When I lower the wrist, I'm lowering the weight. I'm letting the weight down. And when I do that, I simply switch which fingers I want. So it's here, up here, and then here. You can practice going back and forth. And then here. Practice connecting those. You have to listen carefully, get them down at the same time, and make adjustments when you have to make adjustments. The point is, I'm not holding the hand still and just trying to use the fingers. I don't recommend it. So there at the end of the line, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So forth. Let's go over to page 103. At the end of the 3rd line there, on measure 24, you're ending here. Then you have a rest. During the rest, you simply come up 1 because you need a little finger on the A. For measure 25, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now reach up a little finger. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So we just changed hand positions right there. 1, 2, 3, so forth. Now at the end, last 2 measures. You would end on 3rd finger and then you'd come up here. It's a little dangerous. I suggest, and I'll get more into this a little later, I suggest you play that whole note with the thumb. So the measure before you're here, just scrunch up and put the thumb on it. So the last measure you play with 2 and 5, just reach up. You're not really moving the hand, you're just stretching out. Because the chord is this. We're just not using the C. It's like a broken chord. Here. Left hand. Starting out, thumb comes up. Really you're in this position more or less. More or less. Here and then here. Then during the rest you come down. You're not really moving the hand because I want 2nd finger left here. Just come down with little finger. Now if you have fat hands, fat fingers, whatever, you have to do that. It's up to you. But if you can, do the 5/1. It's a little easier because there's no black key here, so you got a little more room. And it's a little finger too. And then for measure 5, they're saying 1, 3. I prefer 1, 2. For me it's just easier because my little finger's still on that C. And now it's 3. Again, this is the same technique I talked about for the right hand. I'm lowering the weight with each one of these. So I can connect them and get the notes down at the same time, and allow the weight actually push the notes down. Measure 9, you're back to here, and then during this says lift, well, just come down, you're at 2. That's a B natural there. Now measure 13. You have a G, a B natural, and an F. Actually, the chord is this. We're just not using the D, and I recommend 4th finger on the B because that's how I finger the chord. So I would do a 1, 4, 5 here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. For measure 15, they give you 2 fingers. You can do a 2 on, and then cross over. I don't like crossing over, I don't have to. So here, during the rest, you get a quarter rest, I simply come up. 2. Then I don't have to cross over. Go down to measure 25. Here, again, the chord is a D, an F sharp, an A, and an A. That's the whole chord. We're not using the A. But I still recommend a 4th finger on. See, a lot of people in this one, they'll use 3rd finger. And I don't care which one you use, but I use 4th finger because that's what I was taught to do. See, the idea with the fingering style I was taught is if the interval is a 3rd or less, and the 5th finger is involved here, and that is a 3rd, then you use 4th finger. And then if it goes higher than a 3rd, then you use the other fingers. The idea is, first off, you need to be able to separate those fingers anyway, spread them out. And you're saving these other fingers. A lot of times you need these other fingers for other things. So I recommend on measure 25 and 26, use a 5, 4, 1. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And here, and again, the D flat there. If you got big hands, you got to do this. And that's okay. Otherwise, their fingering in the book is fine too. I'll leave that fingering up to you. Last line, you come down. You had a rest, you got time. And then here, and then for the last measure, you come down. Put the hands together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That G's by itself. Make sure the left hand is resting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Again, that C's by itself. So do that. Let's go down to measure 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You gotta move your hand down anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Those last 2 quarter notes on page 102 are by themselves. The left hand comes up. Then on measure 13. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on B4, the left hand comes up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Then the right hand comes up when you play the D. 2. And then go on. Go down to measure 25. You're here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure that you're lifting up for the rest here. And that's got a rest, and then here. And then here, you spread out in the right hand, you move the left hand down. You see, if you play that with 3rd finger at the end, you got to move both hands at the same time. That's hard. I avoid that if I can. There's no rest or anything. It's just lift up and move. That's hard though. So that's another reason for using the thumb. I don't have to move the right hand. I can focus on the left hand. So I'm here. Here. That makes it a little easier. If I have to move the hands, I'll always figure out a way, if I can, to do it one hand at a time. Then we have the articulation. The phrasing. Lift up. The left hand, just connect everything unless it's a staccato or a rest. But here, lift up in the phrases in the right hand. Now at the bottom of the page on page 102, it's the last measure. Measure 12. You hear? Then once you lift up, the phrase starts there. I kind of disagree with that. I would just connect all that. If you read the sentence, you're right in the middle of a sentence. Why would you break a sentence like that? Unless somebody doing it needed a breath and they just did it and then it stuck or like that. I don't recommend breaking that. I would slur all that together. So in the left hand, you got staccato here. Nice light wrist staccato. Measure 13. 1, 2. You got an accent on there. Same at measure 25. You have staccato in the left hand, so it's a. And here, lift it, like taking a breath. And the staccato here. And at the end is a staccato and an accent. A little extra oomph. Then we can add the dynamics. Well, the dynamics are really a suggestion here. They want you moderately loud, and this is the melody. Everything else has to be background. Whatever you think moderately loud is. And even when I play two notes, I try and play the top note louder, just put more weight on it. It's here. You're staying there until the bottom line, or measure 11 or so, and you can go up to loud here. There at the last two measures on page 102. Ba-da-dum is where we want. And then I make top line on page 103. You're loud here. And then you come back down. Now you're soft. And that's the right hand. The left hand's very solid. You're staying soft until measure 25. You go back up to moderately loud. And then the last line you go up to loud. There, crescendo. The left hand is moderately soft still. Don't get carried away. In the last measure, both hands are the same. Speed-wise, well, this is where we put it back into cut time. I sort of already have. You feel it in 2. So it's, because once you get to this point, you're not counting anymore. You're not going 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, none of that. You know the rhythm, you feel the rhythm, and so you just do it. Now here, you want to crescendo a little bit there. And then come up. You're just crescendoing for the E's G sharp. Play that a little louder, and then a softer. Just bring that out a little bit. Type thing. It's like a swell in there that isn't written. You feel it. Then on top of all that, they've added optional pedal. Well, you don't need pedal. You can do it fine without, but they stuck it in, so let's talk about it. I'm going to push the notes down first, and then the pedal. This is the third measure here. And when I play the next measure, I'm going to lift the pedal up after I play the notes. And I don't recommend playing that or pedaling that measure. This is measure 4. I don't recommend pedaling. And I want to hear the phrasing in the right hand. I want to hear that silence. So, and if you pedal it the way they're showing it, it's covered up. Just don't pedal measure 4 at all. Just so it's here. Just lift it up. You don't pedal again until over on page 103, second line. It's the same thing. This is measure 19 here. Again, on measure 20, don't pedal that measure. Just lift it up. If you do want to pedal it for color on the dotted half notes, if you want the overtones, go ahead, but lift the pedal up with the hands so we get silence before you play the C. So it's. And then then you don't pedal again to the last line, and here we're loud, we want lots of overtones, it's fine. But I lift it up when I play the staccato notes because I want to hear a staccato note. And again, you can pedal the whole note, but lift it up when you play the staccato note so we get a staccato note. And that would be the pedaling, and that's fine if you want to do that. Different people will play it at different speeds. It's fast and it's bright and it's happy and oh, be in a happy mood and have some wine or something. I don't know. It's a personal thing. Please don't just copy me. Go listen to the singers doing. Get into the mood of the music and the emotion of the music and see if you can bring that out in your playing. I'd like to play it very slowly and have you play along with me. Let's double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the dynamics. And I'm going to put this back in 4/4 time. So we're going to do it with the metronome's going to be beating quarter notes. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3. 3, rest. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. 1, 2, 3. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.